The sun was beginning its slow descent over the Sea of Galilee, painting the vast expanse of water in hues of gold and amber. Along the shore, a multitude had gathered, drawn by the profound wisdom and miraculous healings of Jesus of Nazareth. They had followed him up a mountain, eager to hear his words, and time had slipped away unnoticed. Now, as the shadows lengthened, a palpable hunger began to stir among the thousands. Jesus, ever aware of the needs of those around him, turned to Philip, one of his disciples. "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" he asked, though he already knew what he was about to do. It was a test, perhaps, to see if his disciples, facing such an immense challenge, could begin to grasp the limitless power available to them. Philip, looking out at the sea of faces, men, women, and children, numbering well over 5,000, simply shook his head. The sheer scale of the problem was overwhelming. 200 denarii worth of bread would not be enough for each of them to get a little, he replied, his voice tinged with a weariness born of practical impossibility. 200 denarii was 8 months' wages for a laborer, an astronomical sum, far beyond their means. The other disciples likely felt the same despair, their minds racing to calculate the futility of the situation. How could they feed so many? It was simply not possible. Their resources were meager, their human efforts utterly insufficient. It was in this moment of collective bewilderment that another disciple, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, stepped forward. He had found someone, a small, unassuming figure in the vast crowd. "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish," Andrew offered, his voice perhaps a little hesitant, then added, the practical impossibility weighing on him. "But what are they among so many?" Imagine that scene for a moment. Thousands of hungry people, desperate disciples, and then a boy. He wasn't singled out, he wasn't asked, he simply had what he had. A meager lunch of 5 humble barley loaves, simple, unrefined bread, and 2 small dried fish. It was enough for one, perhaps, but certainly not for 5,000, let alone more. Yet there he was, this quiet boy, with his small, precious meal. We don't know his name or his exact age, but his simple act of generosity speaks volumes across the centuries. He wasn't forced, he wasn't shamed into it, he willingly offered what little he possessed. Jesus took the boy's lunch. He didn't dismiss it as inadequate. He didn't sigh with frustration at its smallness. He didn't even comment on its modesty. Instead, he looked at this tiny offering, a mere handful of food, and he saw its potential. He saw the willing heart of the boy. He understood that in God's hands, nothing is too small. He instructed the disciples to have the people sit down, and in that vast open space, an extraordinary scene began to unfold. They sat down in groups, by hundreds and by 50s, an orderly arrangement, creating a sense of anticipation amidst the hunger. Then Jesus took the loaves and the fish. He looked up to heaven, and he gave thanks. A simple act, a profound gesture of gratitude and dependence on the Father. And then he broke the bread. He began to distribute it to the disciples, who in turn distributed it to the eager crowds. And the same with the fish. What happened next defied all logic, all human understanding. The small barley loaves and 2 fish kept coming. They multiplied in his hands, passing from him to the disciples, and from the disciples to the eager, hungry multitude. 1 loaf became 2, then 10, then hundreds. 1 small fish became a dozen, then scores, then thousands. The thousands of hungry people ate and ate and ate until every single person had eaten their fill. Imagine the quiet awe turning to joyful feasting, the murmurs of hunger turning to contented sighs. When everyone was satisfied, Jesus gave another instruction. "Gather up the leftover fragments, that nothing may be lost." And so, the disciples went through the crowd, collecting what remained of the miraculous meal. They gathered not just a few crumbs, not just a handful, but 12 large baskets full of the fragments, more than the boy had started with. 12 baskets, one for each tribe of Israel perhaps, or one for each disciple, a powerful symbol of the abundant overflow of God's provision. This remarkable story, recorded in the Gospel of John, is so much more than just a miracle of multiplication. It's a profound lesson, a quiet whisper that echoes through time, reminding us of something incredibly important. God can use even the smallest acts of generosity for the greatest of purposes, especially when they come from a willing and trusting heart. Think about the boy. He didn't have much. His offering seemed utterly insignificant in the face of such overwhelming need. Yet because he was willing to give what he had, no matter how small, it became the catalyst for a divine miracle that fed thousands. He didn't question if his lunch was enough, he simply gave it. And in that simple, trusting act, he participated in one of the most remarkable displays of God's power and provision in the Gospels. Often, we look at the vast problems of the world, or even the small challenges in our own lives, and we feel overwhelmed. We might think, what can I possibly do? My resources are too limited, my talents too few, my contribution too insignificant. But this story encourages us to reconsider. It reminds us that God doesn't require us to have everything or to be capable of solving the entire problem ourselves. He simply asks for our willingness, for our small offering, given with a trusting and generous spirit. Perhaps it's your time, a few quiet moments spent listening to someone. Perhaps it's a specific skill you possess, used to help a neighbor. Or perhaps it's a small portion of your resources given to a cause you believe in. Or perhaps it's simply your presence, offered in comfort or encouragement. Whatever it is, no act of generosity, no matter how small it may seem to us, is ever insignificant in God's hands. When we surrender what little we have to Him, He has the power to multiply it beyond our wildest imagination, turning our humble offerings into something extraordinary, something that can bless countless others. Let this story be an encouragement to you today. What small offering, what humble lunch of bread and fish do you have in your hands? What is it that you might be hesitant to offer, thinking it's not enough? Consider giving it, with a willing heart, to the one who can multiply anything. Trust that even the smallest seed of generosity, when planted in His purpose, can yield an abundant harvest. If this story resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What small acts have you witnessed or been a part of that had a profound impact? Share your reflections in the comments below, and consider subscribing for more stories of faith, hope, and inspiration. Thank you for joining us today.